Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown MHA Podfic. Today we'll be continuing Learning to Adapt to the Fall by Supupdog. This is going to be part 2 of chapter 23. They were finally here. Rikido quickly got out of the bakery van so that he could make sure the shelter was ready for them. They have come to this one a bunch. They know how they usually operate and vice versa. He ran up to the back doors of the shelter. Someone must have seen them pull up in because the door opened but before he got to it. Well, if it isn't the Satos! This was one of the shelter volunteers that came in almost every day. They were a big help and loved to cook, so they usually cooked free meals for the shelterees. You are here to humble us with your amazing baking skills once again? I wouldn't say humble. He chuckled while scratching the back of his neck in embarrassment. They ignored him as he turned back around while shouting, "King Baker Sato is back to show us the magnificent baking that he does on a daily. Bow, tiny mortals, for you do not know how his holy baking will purify your souls and will set free of your demons." Rikido's face went bright red, and he heard laughing from inside the shelter. This always seemed to be their favorite way to let everyone know that they were there with sweets. "Rick, can you come help me with the cupcakes?" "Coming, Pa." After they were able to get everything into the building, everyone commented about how much there was this time. His parents decided to rat him out about how much stress baking he's been doing and put him on a stage, basically. Rikido knows that they are just proud of him in getting into UA, surviving the USJ attack, not backing down from a challenge, and refusing to quit the hero course. He told everyone about how he got into UA high school, and right after that sentence left his mouth, everyone asked if he was okay. They were all so nice and caring. They wanted to make sure that his class was okay, or if anyone didn't get medical attention because of their quirks or mutations. Rikido promised and reassured everyone that UA wasn't like that. He described how accepting they were, how accommodating the menus in the lunch hall is, how they actually help keep up with the bullying and checks backgrounds intensely. Well, as intensely as a high school was allowed to do. All their time in school system was investigated quite well. He knew how they all were treated less than human sometimes. It's just what happens if it wasn't right. They all just wanted to make sure the kids were okay, that they shouldn't have been exposed to that at such a young age. Everyone was just on edge with the new things and people being around him. They wanted him to be safe, and he got it. They were all so nice. Rikido never understood how society could just let these people down like it did. It just never makes sense, and he hopes it never does. After they asked some more questions about UA, it seemed to make everyone calm down more. He was happy to see everyone's trust UA more because it's such a great school and tries its best. Rikido has seen lunchruns make extra food with the school's budget to secretly give it to the shelters all around Japan. He knows how much they quietly care and try not to draw attention to these people that would get hurt and all those hate-filled eyes. Soon voices calmly started to talk about new things with everyone in the mess hall. He personally started to wander to the younger groups. They were always nice and hopeful, not as depressing as the grown-ups, but some of them just needed a good cry now and then. Rikido just needed to stay on his toes is all. He walked over and saw someone that he usually never sees. "Himiko?" He walked over to the blonde-haired girl that was stuffing one of the blood cupcakes down her throat. "I haven't seen you in a few months, with the times I was dropping off sweets and such." He sits down and she smiles up at him, fangs proudly on show. Rikido is glad that she's gotten more comfortable with herself. If Himiko would just tell him her last name, he wishes he would be able to do something, anything at this point with how much they underfed the poor girl. "Riki! Oh my god, how are you? Have you been doing well? I hope so, because it would be awful if you got hurt or something. This blood cupcake is amazing as always, and my new friend over here loves your fish and big ones. They're so cool because they have a pigeon mutation, but they have like a float quirk that will help them float in the air if they jump up. It's so cute, and they even said my quirk is cool too. Isn't that great, Riki?" He let a huff of laugh through his nose as he picked up a blood cupcake because they are very good. Hey, don't eat all of them." Rikido rolled his eyes and laughed a bit. This usually happens because even though Himiko is older than him, she acts younger than what she is. He lets her act more childish all the time, though. Her parents never let her act young, so he might as well let her. It's fine, Himiko. I made plenty of them, but back to your friend. The person with the visible bird mutation sat up straight and tensely smiled at him. They are new. He hadn't seen them there, so he could have got here about a week or so ago. They seem to be settling in well, but not many people are near here where we were visiting. Everyone might be giving them space to relax more. Hi, my name's Cass. Good to meet you. I'm Rikido, one of the people that gives sweets to the shelters in the area. I usually do it most when I stress bake, though. He rubbed the back of his neck and took another bite out of the blood cupcake. Cass then started to fling her arms around, looking very embarrassed. No, it's fine. Thank you for giving us this food. I haven't been able to eat anything sweet in ages. Well, you look about our age, Rikido pointed out between himself and Himiko, who was happily munching on her blood cupcake. Did your parents kick you out for your birdness, or was it something else? He sat there blinking for a few seconds before remembering. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. This is just how fast Himiko usually goes, and everyone here usually trauma dumps when you first meet them. No, it's fine. I haven't told Himiko yet, but my family was all killed by the cult. He sat up a little straighter when she said that. What was the cult? Do they have a name? Did the police stop them? She shook her head and took a sad bite out of her cupcake. What about the group home you would have been sent to? No, we were taken by the CRC. They said that they wanted to fix us and make us normal again. Cass seemed like she wanted to cry, but no tears left her eyes. It is part of her mutation. They took both my parents away one day when we were in the basement, and that was when I had the chance to escape. It's been 5 months now. I didn't know what else to do because I saw that some of them were part of the police. Again? He slowly got up and walked over to Cass as the tears in her eyes couldn't pass the threshold of her eyelids so that they could roll down her cheeks. It's happened again? Would you like a hug? Without any more prompting, Cass crashed into his chest, shoulders shaking as silent sobs racked her form. Corrupt cops? Corrupt people? Corrupt heroes? Corrupt society? Everything needs to change. Can I join the hug? Rikido opened his one arm to let Himiko join in the embrace as well. Things need to change, and he knows that he won't be able to affect that much. No one will listen to him. He's just a kid, and no one will listen to him when he's a hero either, because how would he know? That's okay though. He'll help the best he can. He will help those that are making a difference and are being heard. He will help the best he can, even if it will take years. All he can do is help. Huffing a little, they all settled into the hug and just waited until they were ready to leave. Rikido kind of wanted to ask Cass what it was like to live with the bird mutation, so maybe he could understand what was happening with Midoriya at the USJ, but it seemed like that would just be a bad idea now. That's okay though. He still had other ways to help. He knew something was wrong with Midoriya. He was right, but was Mizo right? From what they were told, a quirk affected him to give him those wings, but will they stay? He personally hopes they stay because they seem like they are his. They are supposed to be there. There's no doubt in Mizo's mind that says otherwise. He is currently writing down how he felt about the whole USJ attack. He's doing one part explaining how everything felt from an instinct's point of view, and the other part will tell everything from a more normal point of view. The reason he was doing this was because it will help him sort his thoughts a little better. The parts without any instincts influencing them are straightforward, how it went and how he felt. To sum it up, he felt scared. He was scared about his classmates getting hurt, of hurting the villains too badly, or his teachers not coming out of it alive, or what happened to Midoriya when he started to warn all of the EMTs. It was very organized and thorough. Things happened in chronological order, unlike the one that was influenced more by his instincts. It honestly looked like the ramblings of a madman, jumping from one point to something that happened in the past to back to the present. Miso perfectly understood it though. This was how his brain was seeing things to begin with, so of course he knew what it was trying to say. If anyone else tried to read it, they might ask him to get a therapist or something though. Now the instincts ramblings was very hard just to sum up, so he's just going to ramble like he did in his writings. What he's trying to make sure is it's spelled the right way and has okayish grammar. It's always good to read your writing out loud so that you don't miss anything. It starts with Midoriya. He was wrong. Not in a mean way though. He didn't present himself right. It's hard to understand. His classmate feels like a predator, like he could kill and hunt and maim because that's what other predator animal mutations feel like to Miso. They feel like danger, and that is right because they technically are dangerous. Now, you would think that with someone that is dangerous, they are very much a predator, that they would know those types of body languages. But no, Midoriya shows signs of prey. He shows signs of being smaller and weaker than everyone, even in his subconscious actions. Actually, no. No, sometimes his classmate would show signs of a caged animal, or of something big and deadly being held back and starved for any food, for movement, to not be ignored, begged to be used. Miso has seen Midoriya glare at Bakugo like he's going to kill him. He saw the killing intent in Midoriya's eyes, sharp and cold. Then suddenly, as soon as it was there, it was gone and he looked scared and his eyes jumped around his surroundings. It was as if he was waiting for someone to hurt him. That made Miso scared for how his classmate's home life was. Was he safe, or did his parents hate him for something he couldn't control? There was also a time where something could happen, and Miso could see Midoriya ready. He could see the ready to fight, ready to live and win behind those deep green eyes, but again he would shrink into himself and act like prey once more. He was concerned for Midoriya every day he went home. He made sure to always leave an ear in his direction so he could focus on him more easily. Miso made sure that he was ready to jump in to help any time that Midoriya may need it. The thing is, all of these things he's noticed, his classmate is marked as not having a mutation. Miso knows that Midoriya isn't marked as having any type of mutation at all because he has heard the teachers talking about all the hero courses quirks once. No animal. Nothing to help with the drawback of his quirk. Nothing to explain how he has seen Midoriya's hair looking shiny in the light, like it was glinting metal at times. It was confusing because Miso could tell that his classmate had mutations, but no one could apparently see what he did. He was wondering if Midoriya had more mutations that no one knew about or that couldn't be seen normally. He made sure to keep track of Midoriya the best he could, randomly hearing low sounds from the boy but not really knowing if they were words or not. He kept track and wrote down all that he noticed so that maybe he could bring it to a teacher. Then the USJ happened. Miso was fighting for his life and keeping everything in him that wanted to kill the enemies that wanted him and his temporary pack dead. The need to survive and one thought going through his mind while he tried his best to keep himself above the raging water. He got through it and everyone was safe. Koto was with him in the fire zone. Miso didn't hurt Koto at all. He protected him with his raging mind of survival and life. It was hard, but he did it. Then he was able to get them to the top of the stairs. They avoided all danger or death, and he knew he couldn't beat, so they lived. Then everything was over, but there was screeching. It was an ear-piercing screech that showed how strong, dangerous, back off, don't go get any closer, all it will get you is death. Miso stayed back like he was supposed to because what if it was a villain? Until he looked. He saw the feathers and wings first. Yamada-sensei seemed to have someone practically hanging off him. They had wings and they were very deadly, and it was Midoriya. He saw the green and freckles, the desperation to keep those away, but finally, Midoriya was showing what exactly he was, a predator. He was right. He was what he was supposed to be. His wings were perfect for flight, for looking bigger and more threatening. They also could be used to beat wind into someone's face, and there was so much more they could be used for. Mizo saw the glint of claws or talons. He had other ways to defend himself, and his feet also had talons too. He had toes now. It was amazing to see how strong Midoriya was normally, and then to see it basically get doubled by him finally being complete. He hopes that his classmate still has them. He needs to have them on because he wasn't right without them. He was lifeless and prey when he was a predator being forced into a small cage. When they get back to school, Mizo will tell Midoriya about how happy he was that he was finally complete. It might seem weird, but as long as he still has his wings, which he's sure he does, then it'll make sense. If Midoriya comes to school without them, Mizo will mourn the loss of such a great predator, such a great hunter, such a great opportunity to finally have someone also know how people act so scared of something so dangerous. Mizo would finally not be alone. Maybe he could get closer to Tokiyami more too. He's kind of like a predator, right? She was writing some music at the moment, in her soundproof room that her dad recently got her. It was nice and quiet, no need to worry about the loud noises outside the house at all. Her parents have been giving her space that she needs so she can vent with her music. Sometimes Kyoka's dad would join in to help get the feel of music better, and other times her mom would help too. Only the 2 days after the USJ did they try to spend more time with her, but after she showed how much she wanted space, did they give it to her. They were really good parents, and she was pretty sure that in about a day or two, one or more of her teachers would be coming over to inform them about updates done to the school to keep them safe. It was a bit hard to deal with the thought of school and the attack, but it honestly wasn't that bad. She didn't really get to see what was happening in the plaza. She didn't have to deal with that many dangerous villains. Kyoka was only really worried about the last one they'd had to deal with, but Kaminari was easily able to deal with them. She was a little worried about Momo's decency, but Kaminari was in his wee mode, so there wasn't really anything to worry about. The worry for Midoriya was real, though. All of the class that she was able to be in contact with also seemed to be mutually concerned. It made so much sense to be scared for Midoriya, too. All of them saw what happened to him. The whole class saw what the villain's quirk did to him. Asui and Mineta were the ones with him when it happened, and they didn't even say that much about it. Both of them seemed to still be in a little bit of shock. Asui said something about the hand villain almost getting to Midoriya and to her too. There was so much happening at the time, her ears hurt so much by the screeching. When the whole thing was going down, Kyoka covered her ears the best she could, but the noise was so loud. It was a little blurry because there were tears in her eyes, but she was certain that if the EMTs just left Midoriya alone, he would have been fine. She was even able to hear Yamada-sensei's voice yell out to leave both of them alone. The EMTs were at fault for all of her ear pain, really. Besides the screaming and ear-piercing noises, Kyoka was able to see the wings. The whole class saw the wings. Everyone was worried about what that meant for him. Besides that, it was hard for everyone to watch it happen. A knock from her door brought her out of her raging thoughts. She stretched her ear jacks to the button on the door that she worked months on to get working right, and unlocked it. The click was all the permission one of her parents needed to open it up. In stepped her mom. She had a soft smile on her face as he looked at her. "Hey, Kyo, how's the tune going?" Her mom walked over to her bed and sat down on the edge of it. "Is it the mood you wanted from it?" Kyoka tilted her head, then left, then right, a grimace on her features as he thought about how the mood of the part she was looking for was supposed to feel. Take your time to think of the words they're supposed to mimic. She huffed as she harshly fell forwards into her blankets. "No, I think I know what I want, but I don't know if that's the right thing for it." "Well, what's the mood did you want?" "I wanted something that quietly showed fear, pain, and anger, but I also wanted it to show vulnerability, betrayal from a higher figure, and the need to protect." Kyoka moved her hands around in the air while talking, trying to show the music how the music should feel in the air. Her ear jacks also moved around her, and here and there, because it helped express more of some parts. Her mom just gave her a patient smile and held out her hand. They always had this routine: give the music sheets so they could look at it, wait for a bit and maybe play some chords again, and lastly play the parts they think don't feel right. Kyoka was quickly told to play a few notes, and soon they were fixing up the parts that were not the feel right for certain parts. She still needed to get the other instruments in there, but the guitar and piano were the main melody. What about this part, Kyo? She looked over at the sheet to see her mom pointing at a party that was in dark blue. Oh, that is the shrill flute-ish part that slowly gets louder and louder, that is fighting against the main melody. Kyoka pointed to where the part seemed to finally win over and take over the song, and it became more angry, fast, and felt a little scared and rushed. It's the part that felt most like Midoriya. I've also heard him make these tweeting type sounds in class, but it's always really, really low, so no one really notices but me and maybe Shoji. She goes back to strumming the guitar at the part where things slowed down right before a booming dum played out how it felt when everything calmed down. It calmed down, but then Midoriya was brought out and everything went to shit real quick. He tweets? Oh yeah, like a bird. There's some pretty tunes too. Wish you would whistle them out loud more. Your classmate that got hit by a quirk? Yeah, Midoriya. The quirk that turned him so that he had a bird mutation? Yes. That was tweeting and whistling like a bird before he got turned into a bird? Kyoka stopped strumming and thought for a bit. She hears a lot of things around her all the time, and one of them is the mumbling and twittering of their most quiet classmate. It led her to hear many things, and some of them were weird. She thought of all the time she heard Midoriya making weird sounds that oddly reminded her of birds. The phone calls he would get at lunch being about being a good boy, and I promise I'm being normal. Kyoka thought at first that it was someone teasing him, but what if it wasn't? Mom, if he acted like a bird, mostly quietly in the past. He had had some weird phone calls too. She looked at her mom with a somewhat worried face. When I think about it, it seemed like he was trying to hide it, not because he was embarrassed. Her mom seemed worried too, but she played it off well. She got a light pat on her back and a soft smile. I'm sure it's a coincidence. Me and your dad can ask them about Midoriya if you want. They did say that he was okay now, though. Kyoka took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Her mom was right. She was probably overreacting over nothing. It could have been a quirk that turned you into an animal that you liked or something. Yeah, that could be it. There was probably a very normal and not all that bad of an answer to this. Kyoka's anxiety didn't help make her believe that, though. Back to putting all her feelings into her music. Isn't it an interesting thing what life has in store for some people? He had an amazing mother that was able to get away from an awful life and live in peace in Japan. That gave Hanata half-siblings from the other side of the world in Puerto Rico, with his blood father there having kids of his own. Now, did this mean that his father was the one that was awful to his mother? No. His father was a great man that just didn't know how to stop his side of the family treating his girlfriend like shit. He just never had enough courage to stand up for his mom, but he found a way to keep her safe and happy, and he also visits from time to time. His father sent away his soon-to-be wife, Hanata's mother, to Japan so that she would be as far away from them as she could. He was a wealthy man that wanted her to be able to live in comfort for the rest of her days for being treated so badly by his family. This is why Hanata has those siblings, because his mother gave his father permission to have a legal wife. His parents loved each other, but again, his father was too much of a coward to keep his family in line. Hanata talked to his father at least once a week and saw his half-siblings as much as his father, but they did text more than they did video calls. He helped them from a distance and made sure that the shit family his father has stayed the fucking line. His dad's legal wife was very kind and understood everything well. She even treated him like her own child. It was probably the weirdest poly relationship Hanata has honestly ever seen. His father and stepmom even came over sometime to spend time with them, half siblings and all. The reason for the shit family on his father's side is because of his wealth and them saying that Hanata's mom wasn't good enough for him. They thought his family finally got rid of his mother, but nope. If only they knew that it was in fact a throuple relationship. It was complicated, and that was a reason why his mom and him lived in such a good neighborhood, with his mom never working, with them living in such an expensive condo, never having to worry ever again in life, all because his father was a great man. So when Hanata slowly started to learn about his friends' lives outside of school and how their families worked after the whole USJ attack, Hanata had to hold back his father from suing the school, somehow by the way, but some of his friends and classmates' families made him concerned. A few off the bat was Kaminari with his weirdly controlling parents, Sue with her emotionally detached parents, Ida with his workaholic parents with borderline neglect, Yaoyorozu with her parents controlling her diet and body shape for popularity, Ayama with his helicopter-controlling parents out of love. Tokoyami had been adopted, but Hanata will never trust the system when someone is labeled with a villainous quirk, and Tokoyami also didn't tell him that much of his family life to begin with, so he's on edge with that one. Todoroki because his dad was a very angry all the time and had all the time high for hurting villains, so Hanata images that he would be like his own family to his home. And he just can't help but get worried. And the fact that Todoroki acts the way he does not fucking help, let alone the scar on his face. Hanata seems to show signs of something, but he can't tell what it is, but making people to either hate you or make you act like scum just for attention. Any attention, passive or not. And lastly, Bakubro has some really bad anger issues, and that could be a natural thing, or it can come from somewhere that is causing the anger, like his family. How he said something about his uncle coming over, but then said he's going to get his aunt. The whole thing with Bakugo it being half sentences was hard to understand, and then Kirishima said not to worry because that the heroes had handled it. Bakugo was apparently going in between texting the group chat and Kirishima. That's why everything seemed to break up and made no sense. Yeah, that definitely put all his worries and anxieties away. Definitely. Felt better after that message Kirishima sent. He'd been doing his best to keep up with his half-family and their lives during these days off. There was still about a week until they had to go back to school, and his father decided it was best time to come to Japan with their family to spend time together. They could celebrate right this time about him getting into UA, even with the attack. It is a monumentous occasion, after all, in the words of his father. His mother was getting things at the store at the time, and UA had already been to their house to ask if he wanted to live on campus. Hanata declined, his mother declined, his father yelled through the video call saying how lucky they were that he's not giving them a fine or suing them or something. It was a bit hectic, but now his dad, Ma, and 5 other half-siblings are coming over. If he's right on what he heard, his mother and father are saying that they want another kid too. That was a nice conversation to walk into, so he's going to make sure that all his siblings have a perfect place to be while that happens. Hanata, I'm home. I got a bunch of things to make with, so it can be a combo of Japanese food and Puerto Rican food. It's going to be so good, Hanata. I can't wait for everyone to come back and see how well you're doing in school. He could hear his mother moving around and head to the kitchen to dispose of all the things she bought. Mama, you take first-graded papers off the fridge right now. Fumikage was getting ready to move into the UA dorms. His adopted parents are nice, don't get him wrong. They are great and love kids, but they have a lot of adopted kids. They are well known for adopting a bunch of kids because they can afford it. It gets a ton of kids out of the system. They are a lot older than some would think. They are in their late 60s and are more like grandparents than anything. They have a few of their adopted kids that live in their big home to help take care of the younger ones and keep the house cleaned. He wanted a bit more space and wanted to see how it felt like living in a dorm. Fumikage didn't have to, but it was better than having one of his siblings breathing down his throat and getting into UA. All of them had undesirable quirks, so it made sense that all of them were so excited that one of their own made it into the hero course. It got annoying at times, but the younger ones were always nice to see how hopeful they were. Fumi, make sure you pack all the things you need. Don't you want more things in your room at the dorms to make it more homely? His grandma said as she started to fiddle with one of his bags. Do you want one of us there so you don't get overwhelmed by how much will be going on? We know how your instincts get when there are too many people around. His grandpa turned his head his way, and that was to make sure all of his feathers were in the right place. Nothing seemed out of place at all, at least to his grandpa's point of view. Do you need me to send your favorite apples to you for your lunches? One of the elder siblings yelled from the kitchen as they were making food for the younger adopted siblings. You all should not forget that a caseworker is coming here today to check in with the newly adopted. All right, grandmother? Fumikage looked over his shoulder to try and see his grandma, who was still checking his bag that was on his back. Toko! 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 The 5-year-old started to yank on his arm, using their whole body to try and pull him down to the ground. Toko! Moko, please. I know you like me most because our last names sound similar, but I have to leave soon. He huffed a little as he got his arm out of their grip. Moko started to tear up, and Fumikage tried his best to ignore it, and as someone else tried to explain the situation to the young one, he patted them on the head as they looked at him with tears in their eyes. I'll be back on the weekends, Moko. You just need to be patient, okay? He pushed the feeling of Dark Shadow wanting to come out, standing back up and keeping his face neutral while he started to tell Dark Shadow in their head that they can't get so emotional right now. Fumi, you ready? Turning his head back over to his grandparents, he saw their proud faces and he could no longer hold the Dark Shadow back. Fumikage internally sighed as DS will embarrass them once again. Oba-chan! Dark Shadow bursted out of his chest and went straight for Grandma. Grandpa was readying himself for the impact. Darky, there's my beautiful moonlight. Grandma starts to pat their head while Grandpa comes over and pats him on the back. Fumikage can see the understanding on his grandpa's face while they both look at Dark Shadow and Grandma gush over each other. This was going to take longer than he first predicted. Again. He quickly got up and dodged to the left and then threw himself back a few paces as a jet of fire was thrown at his face after he skillfully dodged the giant fist that was hurtling at his stomach. Out of the corner of his eye, fire burnt off some of his white hair, and that was what made him finally want this to end. Shoto ran forward as fast as he could, ice under his feet, making him a slight bit faster, but getting the upper hand on his old man with his speed was easy. Endeavor was built mostly for strength. Shoto has been working more on his speed for a while. He did this specifically to piss off Endeavor more. Sho was the only words his father was able to get out before his flash froze the air in front of his face. It caused an explosion from the rapid change in temperature because Endeavor never took off his flame beard to spare. Shoto backed up again and took a few deep breaths with how much he was training this past week. He let himself relax, but that was a mistake because of all the mist that was created from the temperature explosion. He didn't notice the hand launching to his face. All he was able to get out was a quick scream that was soon muffled as his face was being palmed by Endeavor. Shoto gripped onto his arm and tried to pull his hand off his face because it was still too hot. It hurt his right side with its heat. Shoto. He looked up to see only with his left eye because the other one was screwed tight, Endeavor towering over him. Anger rolled off his father in waves, and he knew why. No ice. This training session was supposed to be no ice at all, only fire if Shoto wanted to use his quirk. You weren't supposed to use your mother's ice, boy. Some more muffled noises were heard as he tried harder to get out of the tight grip on his face. It was so hot for his right side. His eye was spilling tears trying to cool down that side of his face, but nothing worked. Shoto knew he shouldn't have, but he burnt his white hair. He loved that side because of how beautiful it was. He brought up one of his legs and quickly as he could, kicked into Endeavor's side with whatever strength he had left. A quiet grunt was his reward and a looser grip. Swiftly and efficiently, Shoto got out of his father's hold and tried to get further away from him, but everything started to tilt. His world went faster as his head was smashed into the training floor, ears ringing from the hit. The knee in his side is what knocked the air out of him after he tried to use his quirk again. You know not to fight back with me, Shoto. He wasn't able to get in any breath. He can't breathe. He tried to get his arms under himself and push up. A sharp pain suddenly hit the back of his head, and then his face was smashed into the floor again. Next time, you will use your fire, Shoto. Air was finally able to enter his lungs, and he started to cough. He holds the side of his body that was kneed on, that now hurts and is most likely bruised. Shoto sucks in a deep breath after breath, trying to get his bearings back. The air is hot and hurts his throat. He's trying to make sure that if he's attacked again, he can at least prepare for it. Weak. Tears prick his eyes, and he slowly, ever so slowly, gets back up to his knees, clutching his side all the while. A stray cough here and there is still slipping from his mouth. If you just used your fire, Shoto, even at the USJ, it would have turned out better. Shoto takes a deep breath as he prepares himself to look up to see the burning anger etched into Endeavor's face. He feels so small, like he's 5 years old all over again, right after his eldest brother disappeared. You will use your fire next time, boy. Finally, the sweltering heat left the room and the air slowly started to shift to colder flow as it circulates with the fresh air that is seeping into the room from the window that's open. Shoto takes slow, deep breaths of cold air as what just happened flashed through his mind. Deep breath in, hold. Deep breath out, hold. You will use your fire next time, boy. He starts to crawl into himself as the words repeat in his head, loud and blaring, even at the USJ. The tears that cleared up after being able to breathe again come back slowly as he curls into a ball. Turned out better. Thoughts of how fire could have helped better at different times at the USJ. Shoto was able to see Midoriya from a distance trying to fight the man covered in hands at the USJ. He tried to make it there as fast as he could. He was able to help All Might a little bit. Midoriya was walking up the steps with wings on his back, feet bursting from his shoes. Asui and Mineta by his side as they carried their teacher up the steps with them. Shoto could have stopped the monster faster because, after all, burn wounds don't heal back right. He could have cauterized any wound that thing got. If you just used your fire, Shoto. Midoriya's screeching filled his head as the commanding wounds of his father were almost drowned out. The pain, fear, and anger on his face as he tried to get the EMTs away from him and their sensei. Weak. Shoto finally breaks, a tear drips down his face, and silent hiccups and sobs lightly echo around the empty training room. Use your fire next time, boy. She just wanted to be noticed. Not in her family, no. They understood the feeling of wanting to be seen. Toru's mom was a good example of it because of her quirk. It was a mutant-type quirk, like her own, but just made her see-through, but not fully. You could still see her, but it's like what some people would describe like a ghost would look like. Hard to visibly notice, and you had to squint to see it clearly, but everyone could still see her, Ma. Toru's pa didn't know how it felt exactly, but everyone just pushed it aside in favor of everyone else around him. They didn't have much money because society seemed to just forget they exist, letting her parents, co-workers get raises when they weren't even good at their job. Her pa has a mushroom quirk, more like mushroom mutation. His head is a mushroom and it's normal for her, but apparently it's weird for everyone else and they don't want to look at him. enough about her family. They all wanted to be seen and heard, but she wanted it most. No one ever pays attention to her. Everyone just seems to forget her as soon as she's not near them. Some people seem to care though, like Mina, but she has been talking to Toru less and less as the break had gone on after the USJ attack. She thinks most of the time, almost every day, that when they get back into school that everyone would have forgotten her by then. She has gone through kind of a depressive slump though, as the week or so days. Her parents always checking in on her, letting her know that they still remember her when everyone seems to forget. That was how her time in break was spent, and she just turned down the offer to live on campus. She didn't want to blend in with all the other students in the dorms as well, but they were also tight on money. Nesu gave her a notice on the UA alerts that if she ever needed to move in at any time, she was allowed to. That she will be looked after like the rest of her peers and that no one will lose her in the background. Toru didn't believe it, but she might have to. But again, money was always very tight, and she didn't want to see her family suffer just because she couldn't handle being forgotten once again. Minoru knew he wasn't liked. He knew not many wanted him around, but they noticed him at least that way. He was gross. He said gross things and did stuff that would make people look at him and see him in that type of light. Not a good light, but a type of light. His family life wasn't fun. His dad was, he wouldn't say bad. He never hurt Minoru, but he had seen him hit many different women after they came home with him. That didn't matter much, though, because they always left in the mornings. He knew they only let those things happen because of the money his dad would give him. Minoru tried to ignore it, but just like the things he did, it was hard to ignore. This caused him to not spend much time in his own home, so when he got the news that UA was offering them dorm rooms, he took it without a second thought. He would finally get out of that house, away from his dad, away from the sounds of hitting and slaps. Minoru knew a lot of his classmates wouldn't like that, the ones that are going to use the dorms, that is. He will stay in line and be nice because at the USJ he realized being pervy 24/7 doesn't really help. Midoriya didn't break out of his thoughts. He couldn't help protecting his two classmates. Minoru only started to realize that he was helping more when he stopped and thought about his classmates and about what he should do next. He was scared, but that was okay. He can get past fear. Usually just doing or saying the first thing that comes to mind was his way to get through, but it turned out better when he thought more at the USJ. After he started to think things through more, he was able to help Asui, Midoriya, and even his teacher escape, or more like hobble away from the danger. He already had most of his things packed, and his dad already signed the paper bullshit so he could live on campus. Everything was going good, besides the fact that he was going to be picked up tomorrow and not today. His dad wasn't home yet, and it was already so late in the night. Minoru hoped that he would at least be able to get a few hours of sleep before his dad brought home another random woman that hopefully will leave before the UA movers get here. Minoru can't wait to fucking get out of this hellhole finally. Everything turned upside down. Everything fucked up. Everything has to go to shit. It makes no sense anymore. Everything's not right and everyone's a liar. His uncle was in a fucking cult? His auntie? He's always happy and kind and good Auntie Inga was a cultist as well? What the fuck was happening? It wasn't right. It couldn't be right. It was a lie. His parents brought into the lie and told him that he should accept the lie too, but it doesn't make sense. Deku was quirkless. He didn't have a quirk. Why did they say he did? They said he had a bird quirk? No, he didn't have a quirk and he was quirkless, and Katsuki made sure that he did what his uncle asked him to do, and that was to keep the nerd in place. Both his uncle and auntie asked him to keep Deku in place. They also asked at one point if Deku made any weird noises or did anything weird that resembled a bird. It had to be a lie. Katsuki was sitting in his room still trying to think and process anything. His parents tried to check in with him, but he always exploded on them and told them to leave him alone. His auntie and uncle couldn't. They wouldn't. Would they? They did act different than some people, but that was just how they are. His parents said that they were both involved with a cult called the Creature Rejection Clan. They said they noticed that they didn't like some of the clothes they made for mutants. When they talked to someone with a visible mutation, anything or anyone with that connected with a mutant, they hated it. It couldn't be true, though. How could it? That those two treated him kindly and helped so many people. There was so much evidence that that was only his memory with how they treated Izuku. After staying in his home for so long, he tried to think of anything that would have shown him that they were villains. There were so many different times that Katsuki just ignored it. He remembered so many different things that were so weird and off about them. All the little things, and some of the big. All of the looks, the glares, and the hate and disgust. Auntie's look in her eyes when he told her that Deku whistled in class that day. The time when he was really young and was asking why Izuku would jump off the table so high or high places with his arms spread out wide. The times he asked why he didn't see Deku at school for so long. The lost toes that were always explained by an accident that happened when he was born. USJ. Katsuki saw the nerd's feet. He saw how they looked and how his parents would talk when they thought he wasn't nearby, saying how they could do that to those people and how he understood why some of their clients that his auntie brought in with those surgical scars from surgeries, they would get to make them look more normal. His parents didn't know what Izuku looked like. They didn't get to see his feet or the wings and feathers at the USJ. They didn't know, so they still don't really get all that Inko and Izushi have done to their own son. That was Deku, that was Izuku, and it was all true, wasn't it? Katsuki realized at one point that it was all true, and it hurt. They asked him to help them keep Izuku in line. They told him to do things that, when looking back, seemed a bit too much, and so he didn't do those, but no one stopped him from punching the nerd. No one stopped him from using his quirk on Deku. Both of those bastards encouraged him to do that so that Izuku would stay in line, stay in his place, and they knew he had a quirk from the beginning. They took his quirk from him. They stripped it from him. Katsuki's parents didn't know this. They don't know. Not yet, but he wants to be sure. It must be the truth, but he has to see it with his own eyes. He knows that he started to get quiet after learning all of this. His parents were worried, but they don't need to be, because he's fucking Katsuki fucking Bakugo. He doesn't need any of their worry because he's fine. He's just thinking and thinking and thinking, and Katsuki's scared. What will Izuku do? Did he know that he had a quirk? Will he still be a hero? No, the nerd will definitely be a hero, but there have been people that turn to villainy for less. That nerd will still be a hero, even if he lost his arms and legs, but that doesn't mean that this puts a wretch into his path. Izuku will have to learn so much just to catch up again, because he just got the other part of his quirk less than 2 or 3 weeks ago. How will Deku catch up? Will he be held back a grade for a year or so that he keeps himself safe? How will Izuku react to him? How will Izuku see him? Katsuki has already seen how he flinches at him, and when he said what he said to him last year, it still appears in his nightmares, and Izuku throws himself off the school roof. He shouldn't have said that, but he never apologized. He went too far, and it was a bad day, and he has no excuse. He will accept any punishment Izuku gives him. Why did he do all those things to Izuku in the first place? To keep him in line when he was told to? He did, didn't he? Katsuki was told by Izuku's awful, shitty parents to keep him in line, and his teachers agreed, encouraged it even. He followed the orders of villains to hurt someone that used to be his friend, his best friend, and he did it without any thought, without any consideration. Katsuki Bakugo is a weakling. that just followed orders for years to hurt others, and only now, after everything is said and done, after he told Izuku to take a swan dive off the roof and pray for a quirk in his next life, after he finally sees that Izuku had a quirk the whole fucking time, only then, does he even think about all of it. Katsuki is only now seeing how wrong it was. What is wrong with him? No sane person would do that. Why has he been doing this? Why is he even in the hero school when he did all those things to No, Izuku. No more Deku. No more. He needs to change by last year. He needs everything to end. No more yelling. No more screaming. No more exploding. Some popping. Katsuki will pop but not explode, and it will only ever be used to get rid of the sweat buildup. Nothing else, unless it's for training. He will be a better student and friend and seat neighbor to Izuku. Katsuki might even get Aizawa to change his seat number. He'll beg if he has to. He's going to leave the nerd alone. He won't interact with him unless he has to. He will keep to himself around him. Katsuki will be exactly like he had made Izuku all his life, in line and in his place. He will not do anything remotely harmful to Izuku, even in spars. He can't even think about using his quirk in the nerd's direction anymore without his chest tightening. His parents got questioned a lot by the police. It was more of an interrogation when they first entered the police station and announced that they knew the Midoriya family personally. They were asked a bunch of things about the Midoriyas and their families, how the family dynamics seemed to work, how the adult Midoriyas would act around certain people, asking and asking and asking. Question after question, day after day, new person, more questions, and some were asked to him, and he never spoke, and asked to go to his room, and was allowed to. Katsuki heard through the wall about how he was acting recently, how quiet he has been, and how reserved he's become. Every single officer that had entered their home gave their own list of therapists. That pissed him off, but no explosions came. No yelling remarks were made. He doesn't deserve it. He shouldn't be allowed to. Every time his parents thanked them and then asked for those bastards to be put away quickly so that they wouldn't hurt Izuku anymore. Katsuki is still a bit skeptical of them, honestly. Did they really do that, or were they forced to? He knows it's a fucking stretch, but if maybe they were forced, doesn't that mean they're also victims in this? The cult could have messed up their shitty mind or whatever and made them think that doing that to Izuku was the best thing to do for him. Katsuki knows for a fact that Hizushi loved his son more than anything. Inko loved him too. Inko did love Izuku. Katsuki knows it, so maybe they were just brainwashed or some fucking shit. He knows for a fact that they wouldn't have done this on their own. Katsuki will find out. He won't let them be thrown in prison when they need medical help with their brain. They deserve help, at least despite what they did. They could see what they did wrong and regret it and apologize even even if it'll do jack shit now. At least they could grow past this, like he'll try to get better himself. He'll find out and keep in line around Izuku. He's not asking the nerd. He already has so much on his plate. Katsuki hopes the nerd is going to keep going to school. His parents were told he was put in with someone who has an emergency foster license, but Katsuki's parents couldn't adopt him. They were told they were too close with the Midoriyas previously to be deemed safe. It hurt, but it made sense. That doesn't matter to Katsuki though. He'll find out and make sure the people that actually did this gets put more than 12 feet under. He'll blast them to the Earth's core and then some. There'll be nothing but atoms by the end of it. They took everything. They did. I lost everything. Everything I love. You did. The ones I love were taken from me. My emerald. My hellite. The heroes took them. My home. My things. My life. My networking. The heroes ruined everything. Again, didn't they? They did. They did. How? What am I? You want them back? I do, but that's UA and so many. You want them back, correct? Yes. What have we always done here when we want to accomplish something? Fight for it. What have we always been taught to remember when fighting for a new day? We wait till we are strong. how will we enact any revenge we have on others? With violence and no mercy. Now, my boy, Hizushi, of the last Midoriyas, what are you going to do? I'm getting them back. I will kill, maim, and torture anyone in my way. Meme time. Momo. I train my quirk and write. Her parents. No, you must be skinny. This food only. Momo. I train my body and write. Her parents. Better. Ochaka. I am a penny pitcher at heart. Nezu. Free things. Ochako. Snatching that shit up so fast. Give me that. Me writing Yuga. Do. People that know. Me. What? People. Is he, me? You mean Faye? People. No. Mina. I'ma just think about my friends and be on the verge of a depression episode the whole time. Shin. Yeah, stop that. Mina's parents. We agree highly with that, the young man is saying. Mina. Fine, but I need a lot of fucking distractions. Sue. My family is a little shit. Nezu. Want something better? Sue staring him down. My siblings better be treated right. Nezu. Of course. This is my private postal service that UA has because I hate using the normal one. It's never fast enough. Sue. Why are you like this? Ojiro. I am normal. Nothing weird here. Him pushing down, killing intent with everyone and throws a punch near him. Ojiro. Yep, definitely nothing wrong here. Ojiro's dad. You need better control. Ojiro. I know, but hard. P.S. At the end of his POV, yes, his instincts did in fact think he was passing out. Losing a fight means death. Thanks. I get to go to the beach. Readers. Yay! Thanks proceeds to complain about his very controlling parents. Readers. Ooh, that just got sadder. Okay. Kiri. So, Nezu? Nezu. Yes? Kiri. Bakubro and Uncle Sashi? Nezu trying to find the son of a bitch. Where? Right now? Kiri. No. Nezu getting slightly upset, but that's okay. Okay, give me everything you know then. Bun's name means a small segment cult from a long roll of cold rice and various other ingredients, wrapped in a sheet of seaweed. Koji. Oh my god, please tell me I'm wrong. Me making all of the mutations feels what's wrong with Izuku. Me. Yeah, it's all coming together. Sato. I bake. Readers. Oh, a nice and helpful one. Me putting Himiko in the shelter so she could get some source of blood food. Readers. I didn't see that coming. Me. Oh yeah, they're like BFFs, man. Sato got many ideas for baking from her. Me making Mizo know. Mizo. I want for dangerous predator friends. I'm so alone. Me. Oh baby, I'm sorry I did this to you. I didn't mean to do that. Kyo. Music. Her mother. Need help? Kyo. How do I make this emotion here? Ignores the anxiety slowly building up. Sero. So, family, right? It can be shit. Sero looking at all the concerning signs of his classmates. Sero. I'm worried. Sero's mom. Yay, Hanata, our family is coming over soon. Sero. Get my grades off the fridge. Toko being adopted by rich old people that adopt a fuck ton of kids. My life is good and I have a lot of siblings. Big flock. The grandparents. We love you and care about you. Dark Shadow. Oba-chan. Show. I'm being beat. End. How fucking dare you use your ice? Show. I was being beat, and by you for a matter of fact. End. Weak child. Show then proceeds to have a breakdown. Yay. Me making the whole of Toru's family invisible, even if they can be seen by people. Me. Yeah, fucked up society. Mineta. I'm a big fat perv. Mineta's home life. Mineta. Me. I meant to make this one fucked up, but so goal achieved. Cat's having no way to mentally process everything. Me. I'm gonna make you not know what to do. Cat's now just being quiet and trying to make it up to Izuku by now also staying in his place. Me. Oh, buddy, that's not healthy. That's not right. Kat saying he's going to find out info about them himself. Me. Oh, that's even worse. I just wanted you to be quiet for a bit, man. Alright, everyone, that is finally the end of chapter 23. This was such a long chapter. I did not expect for Katsuki to be, told what to do to Izuku. I don't know if you heard the shock, but I was quite shocked that they told him to be like that. It makes sense, but I just didn't expect it. And also, I did not expect for it to get so creepy with Mr. Midoriya talking to the cult people. Wow, I didn't expect them to show up. Please tell me your thoughts. I'm so curious about what everybody thinks about this chapter. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.